What's up, guys? I literally right before I turned on this video, I just fried what was gonna be the project for this video, which I was gonna just, pack the camera away and wait and order what I needed to order because I don't have the parts on hand to actually make it work again. So, I was gonna just wait and redo this later, but then I figured, considering what this video is, sort of like the first newbie adventure in electronics, I figured how fitting that I fried it and just had to go to Plan B right off the hop for the very first thing. It's kind of poetic if you think about it, because that's kind of the name of the game when you're a noob like me. So, but I want to show you real quick what I'll just push this back. It'll be like the next video. But I was gonna when you're just starting out in electronics, anyone will tell you it's good to do a lot of kit builds, just like cheap, from different like eBay, China eBay sellers, or like sites like Light in the Box, Wish. We all where you can find all this kind of stuff. It's everywhere. It's really cheap. It's great soldering practice. It's awesome way to learn just in general, because the instructions almost always are only in Chinese. So you actually have to follow the traces, look at the schematics. That if they even give you any, a lot of times they don't. You have to research to find out what parts are, if you're like me and you're not that you don't have a lot of expertise in electronics in general. So it's good. It forces you through a lot of the steps that are really good when you're just starting out. Here's what this was a little kit that I got, and I didn't even remember. Now you should always it's always good to order a lot, because they're only like a buck or two, and when you're starting out, you're probably gonna wreck a lot of stuff. So order a few. This one was only one I had, and I don't even remember ordering it. I didn't know what it was when I got it, other than it was some kind of LED flasher or something. But it looked neat, because I'm going to have a better camera later on. I just wanted to do this, all things considered. I didn't think this one really mattered. But I'll show you. I'm going to try to put this where you can see it. It's a pretty simple little board. Let me get this where, there you go. But basically, it just had, a couple little chips, couple resistors, and where you see these leads coming out on the sides, was where it ran to little clusters, like a little 5mm LED arrays, red and blue, diffused 5mm. But yeah, it just had those, a couple of resistors. I think it's like 10K and 100 ohm resistors. Couple capacitors. There's the one little one you can see there, and then you see an empty spot on the board. Where's my little tweezers? Right here somewhere. Where is it? Right there. That's another capacitor that I just blew right before, and that's why I can't continue with this project, because I don't have any more of those capacitors. But basically, what was neat, I don't know, was weird or neat about it was it has this. See this little thing right here? It has sorry guys, I'm all over the place. That blue thing there that you see with the white that's like this some kind of three-way switch, and it seems to correspond to, you see those three rectifier diodes? Looking at the traces, it seems to correspond with the positions of the switch, where I don't know, it seemed interesting enough. And then here's the whole story with this. What happened was, when I put it together, the instructions are in Chinese. Everything was pretty obvious where it goes. The PCB itself was labeled with the symbols, or with like little abbreviations that were in English, mercifully, which helped a little bit. And plus, it's just pretty obvious anyway. But what wasn't obvious was, see, here's where I have these leads coming off here. Originally, there was these removable little perforated sections of PCB that held these 5mm LED arrays, and I've just since ran them out with leads just to get them away from the board a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, so these little parts of the board where the LEDs went, it was obvious the LEDs went there, and if you looked at the traces, it was obvious enough, the orientation that you should put the LEDs in, because it wasn't all the same. They're actually ran. Well, that's the whole thing. Is when I put these in originally, I put them incorrectly, but I put the red LEDs on the side of the PCB where the blue LED should have been, and vice versa. And it should have been obvious to me, because if you look at the back here on the traces, you'll notice that, or I should have noticed, that one side is being driven as basically 3 sets of 4 LEDs in series. If you know what I'm saying, like there's 4 of these little LEDs in series times 3 running in parallel. All those series sets running in parallel. Whereas the other side was running 4 sets of 3 LEDs in parallel. And so it should have been obvious enough, because the forward voltage of red LEDs is lower than the blue. And so it would have been obvious that the red LED should have gone on the side that was running the 3 sets of the 4 LEDs in series, and the blue should have gone on the side that was running the 4 sets of 3 LEDs in series, because it's just kind of common sense, right? Like, of how it's going to drive these, in terms of, this will be rated for a certain voltage, and it's going to be set up to power these LEDs, and since these have drastically different forward, well, not drastically, but enough to matter, in some cases, depending on what you run it at. And because of that, and another thing is they're exactly symmetrical. The outputs, like what the board is putting out to these two LED arrays, is exactly the same. So it's not differentiating the current it's giving, it's making available for these. So, with that in mind, then it should have been obvious that the blue side, the blue LED should have gone on the side where it wasn't going to be needing to drive so many of them in series, because that would take a higher voltage, and then possibly it could require such a high voltage that it could damage the red ones. It's just kind of obvious that the red ones would be on the side that has more driven in series. So I should have known that. I should have put them in the right side right away, but I didn't. That's the name of the game when Newb Adventures in Electronics. And so when I turned it on, only the red side lit up. And I turned it on, I powered it at a pretty safe voltage, just because I didn't even know what this thing was rated for. It didn't say in any of the literature, in English anyway. It didn't actually say on the PCB, which a lot of times it will. This one didn't. So I sort of started low, worked my way up, and I was only getting power on the red side. Kind of figured out why that I had put these wrong, so basically just snapped off these two 5mm. Rather than trying to desolder all these, I'll do that some other time. I had a bunch of LEDs anyway, so I just grabbed some of the same diffused LEDs. I snapped off these off the board, which left this all intact. Ran some leads out, and then I did my own 5mm array on some prototyping board, just some basic prototyping board. It's really cheap. This is actually really nice stuff. I ordered this off like Wish or one of those apps. It's really nice, double-sided, and it was dirt cheap. There's I like for a pretty good quantity. But anyway, I just redid my own arrays, and it was actually a lot of fun. And I ran them the same way. It's just they're organized differently. You probably can't tell by looking at this. You will in the future when I have a better camera set up in a better view, but it won't matter for what we're actually going to do in this video. But yeah, you can see there, and all I did was, I didn't have any solid core wire, so I just had this big industrial ass wire, and I just stripped a bunch of it and isolated the individual strands in the huge braid, and then used those as the sort of, as that solid wire. But that was a lot of fun, actually. It was good soldering practice as well. And so these are basically just grouped. It's six, or what, how many LEDs we got here? It's 12. But they're running basically in series sets of 3, sort of 4 in parallel, um, with the way I sort of did the quote, like tracks with this on the back here. And so anyway, I redid it with my own array. Hooked it up just using a little battery pack, the slider switch, and I used a couple of 14500 lithium ions, so that would be right around 8.5 volts ish, and which kind of was about the ballpark of what you would want running 3 of these LEDs in series. It's sort of in between, like you could run the blues higher and you wouldn't want to run the reds a lot higher. So with the particular number of LEDs I chose to put in series. So I did that, turned it on, worked fine. It was an LED flasher like you'd expect, and the little 3-way switch, set it to different speeds of in the pattern, and it worked fine. Well, then I got the idea for what I was going to do for this whole project, which was I was going to build, using this kit and a couple others, sort of Frankenstein them together and build myself a little sort of, what do you call it, like bandolier, or sort of just a little, like a belt that I can strap on across my torso for when I go on my nighttime runs, so I can stop getting struck by vehicles, because the people where I live don't know how to drive at night, and I've just about had enough of getting hit by freaking cars. So I figured I'd build myself a little strap with all kinds of flashing LEDs, most of them in red and blue, so people think I'm a cop or something and really don't hit me. But yeah, basically I was just gonna make a few little modules, kind of rig them all up, pot all these actual things, so because moisture would be a problem. I'm sweating like crazy when I run, right? So I was gonna rig them up into some kind of equipable belt that in little modules that were all potted, to protect them. And for a power solution, what I was thinking of doing was just kind of, I don't know if I have, yeah, I do. I have one here. I was thinking of just making my own sort of waterproof compact casing for something like this, just a typical 18650 sled with like a 2.1 millimeter port for charging. And this is the type of 2.1 millimeter port that has a switch negative, so that the circuit's broken when you have a non-conductive plug in it, and then when you pull the plug out, the switch, the negative post is basically split in two, has 2 negative posts. You hook everything to one of the posts, and then one of the posts just goes right to the battery on its own, so that, and it's spring loaded. When you pull this plug, it bridges those two together and completes the circuit, so that it's kind of handy. It's a nice, it's like a switching recharge port basically. And so I was gonna just kind of rig all this up, and the one thing is, lithium ion cell like this is only about 4 volts, not nearly enough for what I need. But I was gonna use this little guy. I had a couple of these. You're not gonna be able to see this, but this is just a tiny little, basically it's a little tiny chip or board it's designed to take a 3.7 volt ish, in that neighborhood, supply, and basically boost it up to about 12 volts. It's designed to take a really low current, low voltage input, and then boost it to like 12 volts, about 1.5 amps. So I don't know about running around sweating with 1.5 amps connected to me, but yeah, I don't know about that. I'd have to see, but I wouldn't ever be drawing that though. Yeah, that's just what it's rated. Yeah, that I'd be fine. It's only ever gonna have, I mean, what are these 5mm LEDs, like 20 milliamps tops? Yeah, in series, depending what I'm running them, but yeah, no, it wouldn't be. No matter what, it's gonna be low voltage. It's gonna be like, the 10 volts area tops, and like in the tens of milliamps, so it's not going to be a big deal. But anyway, 15 minutes later, that was going to be the project for this video, and now it's just a pile of useless parts until I get some capacitors. I popped the capacitor off of there, and I was looking at it. It's just a tiny little thing, but looking at the, I was looking at it. It doesn't look. I mean, when they're this small, they don't even have the little perforated sort of, that X that they have crimped in them at the top, so that if they do fail and they blow, it's more controlled for safety. When this small, they don't even have that, I don't think. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing it. And it doesn't look like it blew out at all, but something definitely popped, and everything else looks pretty good. This was the only thing that looked kind of disturbed. Looked like it had lifted off the board a little bit. That's a pretty telltale sign that it blew. And the only difference is, it's weird because like I said, originally I'd hooked it up and everything, to these double pack of lithium 14500 lithium ions. And originally I just hooked it up straight to this little pack with the slider switch, and it was running fine. It wasn't until I introduced this little meter here, this little USB, reader, and then ran it through just a hacked off USB lead. That's when that thing failed, and it was just sitting right here. And the only thing I could think of was if I slid it across there was maybe some component legs on the table or something like that, and it bridged the capacitor. But see, if it bridged the capacitor, big deal. I don't think that would blow up the capacitor. When you think about what a capacitor is and what it does, I mean, well, unless maybe if it bridged it and it looked like, I don't know, could it go like open circuit and just heat up too much and then boil the electrolyte out? I don't know. I don't know enough. I'll have to look into that. But either way, I'm going to try a new capacitor in that spot, and I bet you it's going to work after that. But there's something about this thing that did it, because I know I didn't get the leads mixed up or anything. I tested all that before I actually hooked it up. It looks fine. I know everybody uses these, but it's weird. I'll have to figure that out. I'm going to be a little leery running anything through this until through this USB tester until I do know, though. That's for sure. But anyway, so yeah, way later. What I'm gonna do in lieu of that, just something a lot quicker and easier, is I have a little plan B backup idea. It was just that everybody knows these lights. You can get them at like the department store, the dollar stores, online. You can buy them all over the place. This one I got, you can see it's kind of beat up and stuff. It was still it was new. I just opened it, but I forgot I had it. It's like literally years old. Like, it's really old, this thing. Which is kind of cool, because it's going to be cool to open it up and mess with it, because I think depending what kind of batteries it has in here, we might know right away, what kind of like idle current this has. If it's drained the batteries completely, because this thing's so old, they might have leaked, and we might know right away. But I doubt it. I doubt there's very much to this, but let's find out, because I think what I want to do for this video now is just, this will be really quick little, I don't know what you call it, experiment, playing around, is just, I want to take this thing, and you just, it's, you push the top, this part in, and it switches it on. It's a few 5mm LEDs. It's like a reflective type surface. It's kind of cool. It's got like the the adhesive on the back. I want to take this and use it to make like just a little fun base to set one of my crystal skulls on. Say hi to this guy. Like, how cool is this? This was a gift from a friend, and it's freaking amazing. Look at the carving quality on this crystal skull is amazing. It's freaking awesome. So it deserves to have a cool place to sit. So that's what we're gonna do. So the idea would be that it would sit on this, let me just kill this for a second, and then you know, it would look cool, and it'd just be a matter of like bumping it, no shut off or whatever. But I want to mod it out a little bit. I want to see if I want to open it up, see what's powering these. Maybe I can swap out these LEDs for something cooler, like some color changing LEDs or something. Depends what the battery is, because I know, you know, like 5mm LEDs normally have pretty low forward voltage, but the color changing ones are usually a little higher. They're 3.5, sometimes even, well, not usually. Yeah, it could be 4 volts. You never know. But like, depending on what the power is in here, we might not have that much voltage to work with for those. Well, for, I don't know, we'll see what's in here. Just had a few screws on the back, just kind of opening that up. You can find these things anywhere. You can get them really cheap online, but I think it might almost be worth just buying these at the department store because they're so cheap anymore there. And I bet you the quality's a little better. It's got 3. That's a lot more. I didn't think it'd have 3 batteries. 3 AAA alkaline batteries. So what's that? It's like 4.5 volts. So that's pretty cool. The LEDs have to be in parallel then, right? Well, unless, I guess it depends on the insert. But let me get the batteries out of it first. I guess that would be smart. Maybe not grabbing them with that would be a good idea. Here we go. How bad is it gonna be if I get? Oh no, okay. Seems like I can take that off without. I just gotta figure out if I can get in there. Is it glued? There's no screws. Okay, let me just. I'm gonna figure out how to get in here. Give me 2 seconds. Holy crap! I had to mangle the crap out of this thing. If you look at the edges. Well, probably hard to see, but they're super chewed up. Like, I had to freaking demolish this thing to get it, but it's coming out, I think. Maybe I spoke too soon. It seems to be coming up. The plastic battery holder part on the bottom seems to be coming out of away from the metal sort of part of the housing in the top here. Man, this is no joke. They really glued this part in. Wow. Sorry, maybe I restarted this video too soon here. I thought I was getting through this, but apparently not. Get out of there. Couple spots where I think it's still kind of glued. Yep, for sure. Somewhere back over here. Can I get underneath that lip or what? Get out of there. Holy crap. This thing is unreal. I'm trying to be somewhat delicate because I know that usually with these things, this part is just fitted together with this lens, with the clear plastic lens on top, and that's actually what does, like, it, that actually forms the switch. So I don't want to just sort of bust this plastic part all the way, because I could have been in there a lot faster if I did that, but I think I have to somewhat try to preserve this casing a little bit. I know I'm not going to use the 3 AAA batteries, so I'm not too worried about that, but holy crap, I cannot get in there. I need one of those tools for... I'm telling you, this thing is glued so hard that I don't think anything would have got in there. Like any one of those little jack open electronics tools. Holy sweet damn. It's just freaking glued solid on that one spot. Maybe you get out some like acetone or something. Get it. Ah, there we go. Wow, that was not easy. Okay, let's move this guy out of the way for now. So, let's see here. There's the kind of... Okay, yeah, so actually it didn't have to be... So this little reflector part is actually just what forms the switch. So these cutouts, and then you push it in and it flexes in and clicks. Probably a little tactile switch under there or something. Let's see here. Can I get this off without, yep, without wrecking anything? Just gonna pop this reflector off. Okay, there's like little standoffs, or I don't know what the little like LED mounts or whatever inside there. It's just a latching switch. It's an odd kind of latching switch that I haven't seen yet. See that little white and black thing in the middle? That's the switch. And the reflector just bends down and just kind of clicks that in. And basically that's all that is it's just a resistor and 3 LEDs with the latching switch. And there's the batteries, or the wire coming off the battery contacts. Looks like I can pop that circuit board off. Is it glued? If it's gonna let go or not. The shape of it with the battery pack makes it kind of hard to get a hold of. Yeah, that's tough. I got it out on the one side. This side is being kind of stubborn, and I don't want to pry on it too much unevenly. It's definitely being caught on that side just a little bit. Gotta be careful how I pull on this. The little triangular PCB is just stuck in the bottom. I just want to pop that out, but it's kind of stuck on this one tab. Since I can't see the other side of the board, I don't want to just like break that part off, because I don't know what's under there, if I'd be breaking the track or something. Just it's got these little tabs that stick through it, and they just like kind of pin it to the plastic of that. But yeah, that's all it's on there, is like a resistor and a latching switch. Just want to see where the tracks go and stuff. I want to swap these LEDs out and basically just put these back in for now. I'm going to change the power source eventually. But there's that side. Can you come off now? Like, holy crap. Get off there. It really does not want to get out of that last pin. It's kind of bent. Let me see if I can bend those back in. That might do it. Come on, you. So close. Gotta be careful. There we go. So, yeah, that's it. That's all it is on there. It's a switch, the resistor, and the 3 LEDs in parallel, I think. Yep. Right? There's the power. Resistor. Goes over there. And to the switch, and then the switch just bridges to the positive. Yeah. Yep. So it's kind of cool. Alright, so let's see if are these just sockets? Can I just pull these LEDs out, or are they soldered in through there? Are they soldered through those? Whatever these little, see, I don't know enough, but there you can see a little board, right? And then you see how it's got like these little white like housings or like spacers or whatever where the LEDs connect to the board. So see those little white things there? The legs of the LEDs run through those, and then if you look at the, whoops, be careful, I just pinched that wire. You look at the back side of the PCB, those little white things are actually like they're soldered right through hole, but I'm not sure if it's like, are those sort of like you know, adapters or sleeves or whatever that are soldered into the board, and then the LEDs are just pushed into those, or I'm not really sure what those are. Yeah. It's weird, but let's find out. Grab. There's a UV. There's a deep red. Yeah, I think these are the ones. Would suck. I'm trying to. I have some deep red LEDs. Try those. I hope these are the deep red, because if not, these then they're UV. That won't work out very good. Well, I mean, I would be taking what, white LEDs to put in UV LEDs. So I don't know. I'm gonna find out if those little thingies are just slow little solder onto there, just to get it to behave a little bit at first. And then I'm going to see if I can't pull that out. So, no, it looks like those are just, you probably can't see that, but it looks like those are just little spacers. Just little pieces of nylon or whatever, sort of, in between the legs of the LED, just to prevent, them from being bent or like bridged or whatever. It doesn't look like there's anything else to that. No, that's totally what they are. Just pulled it out. Totally just a little spacer. That's kind of neat. I almost want to save those spacers for something else. But let's reuse them. Oh, you know why? I know why. Duh. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. It's because the space, let me just make sure I get the polarity right. Oh yeah, I tinned that shit. I'll pop all these out, and then what I'll do is I'm gonna take all these ones out, and I'll take them out of those little spacers, and I'll put the new LEDs in, and then I'm gonna have to desolder the PCB so I can put those back through. So I'm just applying a little fresh solder to each of those spots, because when you're taking stuff off a board, if you just try to go on here to these old solder joints and just apply heat and take them off, it's just, you're gonna have to put way too much heat on. They just won't heat up right or smoothly or anything. They won't want to come off very good. Now that I've put fresh solder on these, they're gonna pop out like nothing. If I wasn't such a putz, that is. And pull on it crookedly and bend the lead. Weird. Let me just get this last one. I didn't get him with solder yet. Okay. Wait, I still didn't. I missed one. That was totally the wrong solder blob I just did that on. Sorry, I know you can't really see any of this. Like I said, this wasn't really intended to be. This was just kind of a. Might as well do something because the first thing fell through, and it's just gonna be super quick. Okay, so let me wick up those spots, and just to make this a little bit easier, let me sort of clamp this in something. Just get up some of this so I can put these LEDs back through. Ooh. That iron is hot. I like it. I love my new soldering iron. It's just one of those Hacko, what is it? Everyone that affects, the digital one. But it's freaking awesome. Is that my other pad? Yeah, sorry. I'm just taking off the old solder so that I can get these LEDs back through. This is where I'm going to start to make my board look a little less nice. It's going to start to boil a little bit of flux and resin out of the board when you're desoldering stuff sometimes. Well, when I do it anyway. I'm actually decent at soldering, but what the hell? he said as he failed miserably to take the solder off that pad. There we go. Maybe that'll do it. Alright, so now here's one of my new LEDs. So let's put this in. I don't even know if the forward voltage would be all that different, that this is going to be kosher or what, but we'll find out. I'll just tack it in place for now, and then I can straighten it out after. Oops. Oh, let me just switch this up here, maybe. Pop those through. So I'm just going to tack one of each of the legs through, just kind of quick and dirty, and then I can do them all up. Pop the old spacers off. Yeah, these spacers would actually be important because just the way that the LEDs sit on the PCB is actually important for the switch operating properly, since the reflector piece just kind of bends down and presses on that switch. Alright, so let's put our solder on here. Just kind of, doesn't matter if it's straight because all I gotta do is just kind of just tack it, and then I'll fix it afterwards. I'll make sure that they're actually oriented right. I'm just swapping out the new LED onto the spacer, and hopefully I'm paying enough attention that I'm getting these polarities right. Excuse me. Oops, that's kind of dumb. Yeah, put that, make it this, like this maybe. Where are we? Right here. Move that giant casing out of the way. Okay, so now I can flip this just by hand real quick. I'm just gonna make sure that they're, see how now that I pop those in, but they're kind of all like they're on the board really bad, like they're sticking all over the place every which way. So I'm just gonna just kind of manually just get them sitting nice and flat while I only have one leg soldered. Whoops, or I'll totally make it crooked. There, that's pretty good. I just heard someone say if you try to make it too perfect, you usually just wreck it. I'm not gonna mess with that anymore. Sounds like good advice. Alright, so make sure I'm not squashing any components. The resistor is the only component on this whole board. It's pretty awesome actually though. So now I can tin the other side, and then I can solder the other side anyway. And then I can fix up once I have the new side soldered, I can fix up the original side that I just kind of tacked it in roughly, because it's pretty ugly, ugly joint. A little fresh solder on the tip. And then clean up the old side there. It looks decent. You probably can't see that, but what you want to see is like joins that look like sort of really silvery, like not cloudy. You want to look really shiny and metallic, not like milky. And the shape to be like really not bulbous. Like you want it to look like it, you know, a very contoured shape from the base of the solder blob to around the component. Like you want it to just sort of look narrow, like a volcano, like it's sucked down. You know, like it looks fluid. So those are pretty good. So I'm just gonna trim these legs up pretty low. And then we'll see if these deep red LEDs will run off this. Where are those batteries? Positive, positive. Did I mangle this battery pack? Too bad. I may have destroyed these this battery holder. We'll find out if I mangled it too bad that they don't make contact anymore or something. Not getting anything. Let's try this a different way. Because I'm not sure if it's just a matter of the battery holder, or if it's more the LEDs. Just aren't, you know, like they're not being run right. Let me check something. Where are you going? Okay, it's kind of bent around that way. Where are you? That one. That one. Now that was. Let's check this. Curious if it's just a matter that these battery pads aren't really making contact. So, okay, positive and negative. So that's the positive. So let's I'm just gonna tack a little LED onto this and see. Yeah, I think it's actually just the battery pack, because that should be lit up. Maybe it's not making good contact though. But I just got a little variable resistor on a 5mm LED, and yeah, that polarity is right, so that should totally be lighting, and it's not. Okay, so what's a good way to try this? Let's do this. 4.5 volts. Curious. Whoa, get. Be careful not to get these. I just took a USB lead and just stuck it in a power bank. These power banks are 5 volts, so alright, well, it's in continuity because it's the indicator on the power bank's coming up, but I'm not getting power there either. What the hell? What is up with that? Huh. Okay, that's not gonna do then. Well, if I can't get... Oh, I know how I can get... Here we go. This will work then. So let's find out... All I was trying to do is get a damn power source that's relatively the same as what this came from. So now I have that. So let's find out... Let's find out what the hell is going on here. So, just gonna kind of tin these wires a little bit, and then let's tin these. And I'm just gonna put some power to this that I know is a relatively safe voltage for it, since I know what it came from. Oops, move that around way too much. Let's try that again. Okay, and assuming that's the negative, yeah. So, okay, well, we're getting somewhere. So, got power going to 1 anyway. Isn't that weird? But not the other ones. Well, we're getting somewhere. So, let me try to figure out what the hell's going on here. Be careful not to bridge those. So it looks like... okay. Well, in one case, I can see that I clearly have the polarity wrong. Both. Are you kidding me? After all that, I put 2 of the LEDs in backwards. Holy cow, this video is really gonna be awesome. Wow. So if I don't wreck this board desoldering this twice, then it'll be a miracle. Really tempting fate. This. Let me, before I get carried away, because I got exposed wires here. So, for frick's sakes, I gotta take the solder off that again. And this time put the frickin' thing in the right way. Thought I was being careful enough. Ouch, 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 ouch. now let's try this again. So positive is there. Correct? Yes. Okay. Now it's right. So I gotta do the same thing, only this time it's gonna be exponentially harder because I already have trimmed leads. So this would be fun. So gonna tack it. And then get the other side here. Pull some solder onto that. Okay. So there's that one is correct. That one is correct. And this one is not correct. Of course. Okay, so, oh sweet. That was lucky. One of the holes, solder came, like it came through the hole cleared when I took the component out. So I don't have to desolder that side. That's nice. Wow, I'm really cooking this board. Okay. Now, put the correct polarity in. That's my negative, right? Yes, okay. Alright. Round 2. So, now... Oh, that's better. Wow, what a lot of work for nothing. Oh, keep those leads apart. Okay, so that's good. So we know it works. And it's going to power those red LEDs nicely. I could tell it's not overdriving them, just from looking at it. Because I know what these deep reds look like running 20 milliamps, which they are perfectly fine with. And that wasn't quite it. They're being driven lower than 20 milliamps anyway. What resistor do we got? Is that a gold band? So, it's not a very big resistor. It's in the tens anyway. It's like 20 something. No, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's hard to see because it's one of those metal film ones. It's blue, so it's always hard to read the colors. Looks like red, yellow, black, gold. I forget what yellow is, to be honest with you. But the gold is going to bring it back, so it's going to be in the tens anyway. It's not going to be a very big resistor. Which makes sense if it's running off 4.5 volts. Well, you'd think it'd be a significant resistor. So I must have bent this pack a little bit too much and caused the contacts to not to not actually be touching. So yeah, because this totally should power. Huh. How about that? Okay. So plan B. Let's see. Alright, so since I mangled that pack, now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna change power sources. I'm not gonna use those batteries. And what I'm gonna do is let me kill this power again. I keep forgetting to do that. I'm gonna short this down. 18650 up. There we go. So right now I'm gonna try to get this resistor off of there. And I'm going to try to run a little variable resistor in its place instead and see if I can't Okay, so I pulled out the little metal film 1/4 watt resistor, and now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to liberate these leads off this tester LED. They're already tinned and everything, so I'm just going to try to take a little bit of this solder off of the pads of where that resistor went. And I'm gonna get the pad to a spot where I can get a couple leads through it. There we go. Okay, and what I gotta do now is get this lead through there. Go on one end, just gonna prevent it. Okay. So okay, that's pretty good. And pop my negative through there. Okay, there we go. Kind of get this half-ass lined up, sort of. Okay. that's not bad. Okay, so now I've got a couple leads coming out in place of where that resistor was on the board, where this little metal film resistor was. And since the variable resistor that I'm going to swap it with didn't actually fit on the board, this should just kind of give me an easy way to patch it in. I'm just going to hook it up just to make sure that it even works, and then if it does work, then what I'll do is, since I'm not going to have the batteries in those little compartments in the holder anymore, I'll run this little, I'll just use the empty battery holder to house this little variable resistor, and I'll also come in there with like a little 5-watt power supply, and that way I can keep this original like module perfect. See that? It's a good brightness too. That's this variable resistor is just like a little fixed current driver. It just is going to run these LEDs at a fixed 20 milliamps and adjust the voltage to drive them at that current. So it's really good for driving little 5 millimeters. So these are all sharing that same resistor in parallel. And right now it's running off an 18650. But it's a beautiful little deep red. So now, you know, the idea is that I can put this back into this original housing, which is important because of the way that this lens and reflector here sort of form the switch to this. They sit on top of this thing, and then you press this in, and it's what activates. So I needed to use this holder, but since I've royally pooched the holder just getting it out, and there it's all bent out of whack, and the batteries aren't making contact anymore, I'm just going to run it in on a little 5-volt power supply, and now I've just cut in the resistor I needed to do that. Because I wasn't sure, you know, it's 4.5 volts with these batteries, basically 5 volts anyway. So if it was running on that, I could assume that this little metal film resistor, whoops, that just fell and will never be found again. That resistor probably would have been okay at 5 volts, but you know, I feel a little safer. I'm gonna hit it with more voltage. It's better to have this. You know, that's running it at 20 milliamps no matter what. Okay, so I know that works. So basically, what I'm gonna do here is, because I need this to sit out of the way, right? Because this is gonna be sitting in here, and it's gonna be sitting in here like this on these little pegs. The board clips in here like this, if I can get it. Of course, you're gonna be a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna have to pop this board back in. Uh-oh. Huh. Interesting. I just noticed this right now. The front side of this board, there's a slot for a 510K resistor that isn't being used. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so I've popped that back. Now you can see why. This is why I ran this on these I put this variable resistor that we're putting in here on these little leads, so that, because I can't have it sitting right down in here where the LEDs sit, because of the way that it'll be in the way, I think. I'm guessing. Let's see here. I'm assuming that's gonna, yeah, it's not gonna let the this reflector piece flex in to activate the switch. So what I'm gonna do is, because I'm not gonna have these batteries in anymore, I can use this empty compartment where the batteries go to actually hold this little variable resistor. I'll just run the wires out the side here and hold the variable resistor down inside this battery compartment, and I'll run a little 5-volt power supply coming in hooked up to that, and that's about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause, and I'm just going to do that real quick, and yeah, then I'll be right back. It's simple, I'd show you, but I mean, this is going to be ridiculously long as it is, and all I'm going to do is just basically take this little guy here and just hide it in one of these empty battery slots, so that way I can get this reflector you know, sitting where it needs to, so it's not going to be worth the wait for that. But yeah, it'll be a piece of cake. Poke a couple holes inside of one of these bastards. I'll do it right in here. Yep, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've put a hole. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but see how I had a couple holes right in the side of the battery, the bulge where the battery would sit there. So now what I'm going to do is take these wires. You gotta be careful because the supply wires here are solid, so I don't want to be bending them around too much. So I think what I'm going to do there is kind of just bend them back this way after the fact and run the new wires in. Yeah, that's what I'll do. But these wires are braided, so I can kind of bend them a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just feed these wires that I've just kind of patched into, because there was no room to fit the variable resistor in place of that little 1/4 watt one in the board. Just going to snake my wires through that hole. I'll try to hold this so you can actually see what I'm doing a little bit. Get that wire in there. And now that I got these wires coming in the battery thing here, I can hook up that variable resistor again. And now my variable resistors will sit nice and tucked out of the way here where the batteries used to go. Gotta make sure normal resistors doesn't really matter with the polarity, but here it actually does with this dyno ohms. It's the variable resistor I'm using is a dyno ohm. It's by Lux Drive, but dyno ohms is what you'd wanna. There you can find them all over. LED supply, I get mine from. You can get them in bulk. They're not cheap, like compared to traditional resistors. But they are sure. You know what? I need some heat shrink. That's what I need. Convenient. There's a piece right there, just loose on the bench. I'll take it, but I'm still gonna need another piece for the other side. But for now, where did you go? Set something down for 2 seconds. Oh, right there. Yeah, but anyway, like I was saying, these variable resistors, though, you do want to observe the polarity. It's marked right on it, on the casing. Typical resistor. It wouldn't matter. What a shoddy soldering job. It's a little better. Pop that shrink over. And I want to shrink the negative side too. Okay. Oh, where are you going? Kind of bend that. That'll do. This needs a little better. Come on, don't make me use the helping hands. There we go. Now, am I going to be able to get that shrink back around there? Possibly not. Thought was nice. I'll get you, you bugger. It's quite the curve to try to get that. I should have used a bigger size heat shrink. Oh well. I got the one side, so it's definitely isolated. Like it's insulated from. There we go. So, ages later, there's our variable resistor, which is actually running from the same place that our normal. See the leads coming out of the board down there. So right where our little blue quarter-watt metal film resistor was tucked, we got a couple leads coming out and running into the battery case where I've drilled it out, and then we've just got our little variable resistor snuck in there. And now I'm just going to come in there with a couple leads and connect to the voltage in leads here, right out the bottom. And instead of trying to bend these solid wires through the hole like I did with those leads over here, instead of trying to bend those in and get them in this hole like I did with these ones down here, because these are solid wires, I don't want to bend them so much. I'm going to come up with the new braided leads to these ones and then just bend them back. So we'll just do that real quick. And that'll be all there is to it. I'm going to use, here's the little 5-volt 1 amp power supply. So I'll use that, and I'm going to do up a little pair of leads here, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so basically there I got that done. So all I did was I did up a pair of leads, just kind of all braided up nicely using some 26 gauge yellow and orange wire, and I just kind of braided it, heated it up, and it's got little bits of every so often little shrink, just to kind of keep it braided, and then it goes to a little USB adapter and capacitor, just to kind of, in case any voltage spikes when it first gets plugged in. Not like it matters, it's got a latching switch. But, well, yeah, I guess it'll still help. So, curiosity. If this will work here. Before I go sealing this all up, let's find out. Perfect. And try to get you a better look at that. You can see how the braided leads come in, and then they push out into that central area with the board and just solder to the existing leads there, just so I didn't have to bend those solid wires that were coming in for the power goes into the board. And then we've got our other leads there running out to our variable resistor that's driving our LEDs. So now this thing just clips back in, and this was why we kept our variable resistor out of that central area, so that we can clip this reflector back in. Hopefully haven't mangled the case too bad. Might take a little bit of persistence to get this in. There we go. Now that we got our reflector in, click it in. Like a dream. So now, and I just had added an extra little hole, and brought the wires for the power supply out, so that we can just sort of cap this. Let me do that right now, because now we don't need in there anymore. So just gonna screw that together. Actually, you can see how bad I've mangled that case. It doesn't even want to close. So let me just trim a little bit of what's blocking that. And if I can find those screws, let's seal this back up. Yeah, that's good. Closed a lot better. Okay, so I'm just going to seal this back up real quick. Last one here. I'm just gonna go back around and tighten these up. And now, just kind of pop this lens back in here. And put this upside down for a sec. Ooh, I just realized something. I'm gonna have to trim this outer shell so that I can push it down over where. If I would have been smart, I would have just drilled a hole, but let's do this ghetto style in 2 seconds. I'm going to go get the Dremel. Give me 2 seconds here. So, I just Dremeled out the edge a little bit. I'm just making sure nothing sharp that's gonna catch those leads. Okay, round 2. So now I should be able to get this around there. Yep. You can see there, now that I've dremeled that out, there's room for our leads. And so now, yeah, that is pretty cool. Okay, so I'll be using this power slug for now. Just got it on a power bank. So last thing to do is just take a little bit of double-sided mounting tape, clear tape. Where did I got that? Hopefully it won't diffuse the light too much. Wow, that is some strong adhesive. I don't know if I can even get that to come off. There we go. Oops, help if I even centered it. No, you probably can't see that on this crappy camera, but oh, power bank just ran out of juice, of course. Okay, so and there we have it. So let me show you that from a better angle. I just had to swap to a beefier power supply. I ran out of juice on that one. But it looks really cool. It's just going to overwhelm the camera and just look like a big white flash, so you won't be able to see it. But maybe you can tell from the ambient lighting on my hand there that it's really saturated the skull. It looks awesome. I wonder if I can get you a better view, if you can see that. Nah, it's just the camera quality is just not good enough here. You just kind of have to take my word for it, I guess. It looks pretty slick. It's just really filled that skull in with a nice deep red color, and it's refracting all in there. And this is a piece of quartz and everything on the skull. So awesome. You can see like everything in it. It's so nice. But yeah, it's a nifty little stand for my new skull. And you just press him in and he's lit. Press him in and he stops. And I'll just use this, I'll just be running them off of a typical 5-volt 1-amp power supply. But yeah, that's a pretty cool, sort of, just a little, for jokes, plan B, since I fried my, my actual project that we were supposed to be doing. But yeah, there you have it. Newb Adventures in Electronics. Um, like I said, I'll have some way better. Like I'll be the next time I do a video for like this. You'll actually be able to see what I'm doing, and it'll be a lot more involved of a thing. But yeah, it is what it is. You just ruin a lot of shit when you're excuse me stuff when you first are starting out. Thanks for checking it out, guys. That's a little better. I still had this giant overhead light on, and that's why it was washing out and you couldn't see it. So there you go. That's a little better representation of what we've got here. You can see it's actually quite a cool effect. It was bugging me just how you couldn't actually see what this looked like. But that's a little better. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for checking it out, guys.